Hey guys and girls and whoever, welcome to another video of mine on the channel Mikey's Video Game Madness. Today we are playing Persona 5 Royal, which is like the Star Wars Special Edition version of Persona 5. So this has updated graphics, more story, more characters, more mini games, more areas to explore, more of everything. I do own the original Persona 5. This is being played on PlayStation 4 Pro if you need to know, but thanks to YouTube's care to smaller content makers, this video will be highly compressed and more than likely will look like shit. Even if they have the original file and they're throttling the bandwidth, like even if YouTube goes back to normal, it'll still probably look like shit, which is disappointing. Like I've been tempted to like maybe go on Instagram and take a picture of what my rendered video looks like after everything's done before I put it into YouTube and take a picture of YouTube so everybody knows I'm not full of shit. But my Instagram page is probably as popular as my YouTube channel. I think I need to add my Instagram to the little kitty cat thing where it's like check out my Twitter and Facebook or whatever. I should update that, but I'm sure you can find it easy enough. I believe my stuff posts on Twitter. I know that I have my Instagram advertised on Facebook, but I have to add you because I do put my Facebook on private so I can kind of screen everything. But yeah, I didn't do the first Persona 5 because they were super strict and they were giving channel strikes, but apparently with Royal they're a little bit lax. They put blocks like further on the game. This is over, and I'm sorry about the breathing in. Like I said in my last Final Fantasy video, like I listened to it and it was unbearable. I'm like, everybody's gonna think that I have the you know what, but it's just anxiety. And oddly enough, as much as I enjoy making this, I still feel like I'm reading a paper in front of a bunch of people, so that's already nerve-wracking on top of personal life stuff and then stuff going around the world at the moment. Like it's been quite stressful and my anxiety has been really bad, so I apologize if I breathe a little bit heavier and more often. I'm trying, of course I'm being more aware of it, so it's going to be worse. But anyway, I was scared to death to record anything of Persona 5, even though I wanted to share it. Unfortunately, due to the downgrade of visual quality, I think a lot of what makes Persona 5 special will unfortunately be lost in YouTube's translation, because the graphics aren't necessarily mind-blowing. This apparently does have better graphics. I haven't seen a lot of side-by-side comparisons with the original, because you have to understand that the last version of Persona 5 was also available on the PlayStation 3, so it was like one of the last major like multi-platform release between like two generations. I say multi-platform, it was like multi-generational release because it was only available on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, so it didn't get PlayStation 4 Pro support. So this one has PlayStation 4 Pro support, so I guess it runs at a higher resolution and the textures and everything are supposed to be better, plus the additional things. And the game was already a 100-hour game, but Atlas was really strict about sharing it, and they were giving people strikes, not like just taking the credit. I don't make money, so I don't care if Atlas makes money off of me, like for my videos. Matter of fact, like I welcome it because I love Atlas and I love the stuff that they're putting out. Like Persona's kind of become, or it's heading in that territory, I feel like, of like a AAA license. When you had Persona 2, and even I don't think people even really started to even notice Persona except like, you know, the hardcore gamers until maybe Persona 3, and I think people kind of noticed that. I think one of the games. I can't remember, because there's two versions. There's actually three versions of Persona 3. There was a PSP version where you could play between two characters. I think it was in first person. The first release was on the PlayStation 3, and then there was Persona. I believe it was like FES. That's the one I have. So you'd think I'd remember if I had which version I had and what it was called, but you know, that one had a lot more grinding. I really fell in love with Persona 4, and I think that's when Persona got popular. And then there was a long time before Persona 5 came out. Catherine was started out as a Persona game, but it ended up as a puzzle game, which I absolutely love. They actually re-released that as Catherine Full Body Edition, available on PlayStation 4, I think the PC, and I believe it's coming on Switch. But if you don't have those systems, if you don't have those systems, I was about to say symptoms again. Catherine is available on the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, and I think the PC. And then I think the Catherine, I can't remember if it's available on the Xbox One. I believe it's available on the PC though, and I know for a fact it's on the PlayStation 4 because I got the special edition of that when I was making bank, so I could afford special editions like that. Although I just want the art book and the soundtrack. It came with like a plushie, which, for all of you people that are making special editions, please stop adding plushies or poorly painted statues unless you really want to put the work in the statues, because McFarlane Toys and NECA make way better, more detailed action figures that cost between $20 and $30. Like, I saw the Witcher 3 statue of the special edition, and it looked like somebody like swallowed a bunch of different colors of paint and like threw up on it. And they're like, here you go, hand painted via my esophagus. So no hands were actually in the process of painting this here figure. And the Resident Evil, like, I think the Resident Evil 2 one looked better, like of the Leon statue, but I saw the Resident Evil 3 statue, and that was that one wasn't painted as good. I forgot what the channel's called, but it's like this dude that like doesn't really talk. I think it's a dude. If not, those are like some manly hands, I guess. But anyway, although it's like, how can you tell with gloves? I just know, it's a hunch. But they did an unboxing of the special edition, which does unboxing of like some rare special editions and stuff like that. They even did an unboxing of the typewriter special edition, which was actually kind of cool, but overpriced. But those are like $200, I believe, and yeah, the Resident Evil 2 one looked really good, but I saw the Jill one, and it just looked half-ass painting, and I'm like, McFarlane Toys or NECA could have done a better job for a fraction of the price. So, yeah, if you want to add a statue, why don't you think about throwing money towards NECA or McFarlane Toys and make it more available to the mass audiences? No more plushies. To me, the idealistic special edition is a decent sized art book and a soundtrack, and I'm good. Like, I got like that, like, I didn't get the highest deluxe edition for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, but which is a full game, by the way. Like, it's not like an episode. You're getting 40 hours worth of content, which I think is kind of confusing, but it's just they're adding more to the story that's in the original game. This, on the other hand, is well over 100 hours. I haven't finished it, but this will be the next game I probably play, maybe after I finish Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'll go back to playing Doom Eternal, or maybe I'll play it in between, depending on how slower paced. Right now the game's kind of like fast paced because it's still in tutorial mode, and a lot's going on that wasn't in the original game already, so that's pretty exciting, especially since it's an action paced game and they're still adding content. I can definitely see how the game's over 100 gigs. Although the graphics aren't mind-blowing in this game has style. This game does kind of like what Nintendo does. Nintendo Switch is not a powerful system by any stretch. It's roughly a little bit more powerful than I guess your Xbox 360. But I mean, it does portable unless you have the Lite, which to me that takes away like from the novelty of the Switch. Personally, like, I think it's a nice compact system, but I prefer playing it on the TV, and then it's cool to play like the I guess the less graphically intensive games like on the go. Not graphically intensive, the more simple, less time consuming games like Pinball, Street Fighter, stuff like that. Sometimes RPGs are fun, but you know, whatever. I always can backtrack and contradict my statements like I do, which probably loses allure. But one good thing about my channel is I did not spend 5 minutes telling you to like and subscribe and tell you all about my sponsor before the video even starts. So there's that. But one thing Nintendo's really good at is style over, I wanted to say substance, but overpower, which sometimes style can make a game look a lot better graphically than it is. And this game is, this sounds stupid, but I'm going to say it. This game's the most stylish game I've ever played. Like, it just, the art design is awesome. The cell shading is amazing. The voice acting is really good. I love the artists. Like, I hope they come out with a Persona 5 Royal book. I have the original Persona 5 art book, and then I have 3 for Persona Arena, and then I try to get the actual artist. I can't think of his name, and if I did, I probably would mispronounce it. But like, I even have like an art book that he did, like, but it's in Japanese. I would really like it if they came out kind of like they did recently with Yakuza 3, 4, and 5, where they didn't really remake the game, but they just put it in a higher resolution. I would love that if they did that with Persona 2, both versions. Originally in Japan, Persona 2 was 2 games. Like, you played as 2 different characters, but here they released like the second part of the story, but not the first part. I think due to like I think it had something to do with like the localization that they thought might be offensive or whatever. I don't know. For whatever reason, they eventually released the other half on PSP. I wish they released that, the first half. They don't even have to release every single version. Just release the best versions, you know, like the Persona 5 Golden kind of, Persona 4 Golden, and then not Persona 5 because that game's already big on its own, but release Persona 1, both versions of 2, maybe both versions of the PSP version, and then FES for Persona 3 because they're different games, and then Persona 4 Golden, which was on the Vita, which is like the Royal, but they never released it on like a proper console. It was only released on a handheld, just like the Persona version of Persona 3 on the PSP. I'm probably being super confusing. Like, if you released a compilation disc of that and released the PSP remake of Persona 1 versus the original PlayStation 1, because Atlas, as they started to become more successful, got better with like their localization and stuff like that. So that would be incredible. Yeah, I would get that disc in a heartbeat, because those games are like, if you tried to buy the original of some of those games, they're ridiculously expensive. They're on systems that don't play well on modern TVs, like the PlayStation 2, even the PlayStation 1. If you can find a copy of Persona 2 and 1, I know they put 1 on the PlayStation 1 Classic, or whatever the hell it's called, that shit show that system was, that apparently is awesome as long as you mod it. But like, I think the Western version doesn't even come with DualShock controllers, what the Japanese version did, which is really stupid, especially with a game like Rainbow Six that relied on that fucking DualShock. I don't know how you would play that game on a regular controller. And then Metal Gear Solid, like, that was the game, I mean, beside Ape Escape, of course, but Ape Escape's not even on there. I mean, what the fuck? Ape Escape's awesome. I have a soft spot in my heart. That's like something that Sony should actually come out with, like they did with Spyro and Parappa. That was an awesome, in my opinion at least, an awesome PlayStation platform. They should release Ape Escape 1, 2, and 3 on like one disc. Sony, if you need like somebody to come out with great ideas that you're actually going to follow through with, I'm here. I'm available. You know, I can work via telephone until the world gets back together. I mean, call me. Like, I have a ton of great ideas. But, yeah, I would love that, as well as a Persona compilation. And I would love a physical copy of the Castlevania compilation that Konami came out with, which was a great idea. I don't know why you came out with Contra Rogue Corps on physical disc, but not the Castlevania and the Contra collections. Like, those would have been amazing. I heard rumors that they might be redoing Silent Hill, and I heard a slight inkling about Castlevania, but I don't know. Like Bloodstained, like both the 8-bit version, which was Curse of the Moon, and then the Symphony of the Night version, which was Ritual of the Night, were incredible. Like, if that series continues, I'm good. Like, I don't even need Konami anymore. But before you give up completely on games, release those, please. And please release an updated version of Metal Gear Solid 4 on modern consoles. That would be awesome. I should be talking about this game, but I feel like the style speaks for itself. I really can't get too into this game for a video because there's just so much to cover. It's like over 100-hour game. There's so much with the battle system, but I would definitely check this game out, or any of the Personas, but I feel like this is the more accessible. The only thing with this game is you really have to like JRPGs, because there is a lot of dialogue and talking with your friends and like developing relationships and stuff like that, but it's so cool. It deals with the occult, and it's kind of like Pokemon-ish / Monster Rancher with the monsters that like you acquire. Like, you can combine them to create more powerful monsters and stuff like that. This one goes back to the Shin Megami Tensei games a little bit, and the older Persona games. I know this is called Persona 5, and I think Persona Golden was just Persona Golden, but before then all the Persona games had the Shin Megami Tensei, because that's the original series that I believe started on the Super Nintendo. Maybe it started on some weird obscure system that we're not familiar with. They're not weird to like other countries, but like, you know, like the MSX or whatever, I'm not sure. But that was the original series, and then they branched off to a bunch of different games. Like, for instance, recently I got, now I'm not going to be able to think of the game on the Nintendo Switch. It's like Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I think FE or whatever. That's like a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei. And then there's Shin Megami Tensei. I think the Switch is getting 5. That's probably going to be like their entry in the series. And then the Persona games are kind of like PlayStation, unless they're like spin-off games like Persona 5 Scramble, Persona Q, like came out on the 3DS. But these are really awesome games. You could play it on the easiest mode if you're not good at JRPGs, or you don't want to spend a lot of time grinding. Like, I put it on easy just because I'm more interested in the story. The battle system's fun, but these games, especially the early ones, are infamous for grinding. So if they ever come out with a compilation, I would love to have like different difficulty modes, so you don't have like that old school trying to stretch out the amount of time that you play on it. So you have to grind a lot more. What do some people call it? Farming. Like, that was kind of like, I never heard of that until like people started playing World of Warcraft, but I always like associated that with like people that would do it for money, like level up a character and then sell them, or like getting like items and stuff like that and then selling them. That's what I associate it with. And then I realized people were referring to farming and stuff like that as grinding, which essentially, if you're not familiar with either term, it's battling enemies over and over again to level up your character. Every time your character receives a certain amount of points, they gain one more level, and which that means is it hires up your stats. Your stats are essentially like what makes you stronger and more powerful. So if you level up, the next time you fight an enemy, it's going to be slightly easier, and then you level up again, it's going to be even easier because you're more powerful. Everybody's set up with a certain amount of stats. Some games the characters level up with you, but this game doesn't work like that, and a lot of JRPGs don't work like that. But with games like, I believe, like Oblivion, I think Final Fantasy VIII, they leveled up with you, but that's kind of lame. It's like, what's the point? But that's personal preference. I know they make up for it in other ways or whatever, but I would definitely recommend checking this out if you like JRPGs and you're like missing, because I've seen a lot of posts, like especially the Final Fantasy VII remake, where people are disappointed, like, oh, turn-based battle systems are dead. And it's like, no, they're not. You just have to look beyond like the most popular game ever as far as JRPGs go, which would be Final Fantasy VII. Like, they have Octopath Traveler on the Switch, Dragon Quest, yeah, I believe it's 11. Yeah, 10 was the online one. Yeah, Dragon Quest 11. So yeah, you have a bunch of choices. But anyway, check this out. It's an amazingly stylish game. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all doing well. Stay safe, take care, and I will talk to you on the next video, whenever that'll be. Alright, bye.
If you want to, like, comment, and subscribe! Thanks for watching!